Hi everyone. So on this slide we have an example of an exemplar response to a question. That means that this is a good, very good, the best of the best kind of response to the question we see at the top. We need to look at the question, in this case it's actually a prompt, first, and then we'll go ahead and take a look to see what is it that this student did that was so great, okay, using TT to help us. So let's take a look at the prompt first to see what we need to do. Describe the assumption the lion made about the mouse and how the lion was later proven wrong. So what I see is that I have to do two things, and you should be doing this also, watching this as I'm doing it. The first thing that I need to do is recognize, I'm going to grab my pen, is that I have two things I've got to do. The first thing that I'm going to have to do, there's my one, is that I have to describe the assumption the lion made about the mouse. Ooh, that's very thick. Can I make it thinner? And then the second thing that I've got to do, I'm going to highlight instead, is I need to tell how the lion was later proven wrong. Okay? So that's the second thing I need to do. All right. Now I'm going to read the entire thing, and afterwards we'll break it down and see if they did TT. Okay, here we go. In the fable, The Lion and the Mouse, the lion made an assumption about the mouse and was later proven wrong. When he first caught the mouse, and the mouse said if he let him go, he'd help him, he assumed that because the mouse was so small compared to himself, that the mouse was useless, and he was later proven wrong. He said, quote, "You are so small, how could you ever help me?" and laughed at the mouse, accidentally letting him go. But when hunters trapped him, the mouse came back and rescued him by nibbling the rope until it broke, and so the lion changed his perspective and said, quote, "Dear friend, I was foolish to ridicule you for being small. You helped me by saving my life after all," end quote. So make sure you have your highlighter here. And we're looking at TT up here to see if it follows that. I'm going to choose my red because it goes along with the topic sentence. Remembering that the topic sentence has to come from the assumption the lion made about the mouse, and I see that here, the assumption the lion made about the mouse, and how the lion was later proven wrong, and was later proven wrong. Now, also, you need to include the title. So in the fable, The Lion and the Mouse, the lion made an assumption about the mouse and was later proven wrong is a great topic sentence because it restates what I see in this prompt, right? So they did that. I'm going to put a check mark over here. They did it. And you should too. Next, I'm looking to see if they explain. This is the first explanation, and it would go along with the first thing we put a one next to, the assumption the lion made about the mouse. So we're looking to see, did they talk about what the lion assumed or judged about the mouse? And I remember that they did. They said that, get my orange, he assumed that because the mouse was small compared to himself, that the mouse was useless, and he was later proven wrong. So that goes directly with that question. Now, they gave us a little bit more explanation to help us understand that situation when he first caught the mouse, kind of giving us a little bit of backstory. That's not really an explanation so much as showing us that they understood the text and setting us up to understand what they were talking about with the assumption the lion made. We are going to highlight that orange, though, because it goes along with that explanation. So they did that. Now, the next thing that I should see, so put the check mark there. The next thing I should see is that they have some evidence that goes along with this assumption that the lion made that the mouse was too small. So let's see if they did that. I'm going to grab my green because it goes with green. You should grab your green. He said, quote, "You are so small, how could you ever help me?" That definitely goes along with that. So I'm going to highlight that in green. You should highlight it in green. So I'm going to put a check mark there. Now, when I read the next part of that, it says, "and laughed at the mouse, accidentally letting him go." That's just a little bit more explanation. Now, you can add more to TT. You just can't have less, meaning you have to do everything that's here. You could add another explanation. You could add more evidence. You just can't have less than what's here. You have to have TEA, TEA. So they added a little bit more explanation, so we'll highlight that in orange. So they went above and beyond TT. Great. So the next thing I'm looking for is they've got a transition word. Why do you need a transition, which means go from one idea to the next here? Well, you need to do that because look up here, guys. They did all of number one. Let's put a check mark there. They did all of that idea, describing the assumption the lion made. Now we need to go to the next idea, how the lion was later proven wrong. We need to go to the next idea means we need to transition to the next idea. So we are moving to the next idea, so we need a transition word. And in this case, they're using the word but. And I'm going to grab my red because it's in red. And they did that. So they used this word right here, but. Here are some examples of transition words. Now they could have been fancier and used however there. It's the same thing. So let's see, now do they have an explanation of how the lion was proven wrong? Do they help us with that? I'm grabbing my orange, you should grab your orange. Let's see, did they explain something about the lion being proven wrong? When hunters trapped him, the mouse came back and rescued him by nibbling the rope until it broke, and so the lion changed his perspective. And they did. They explained how the mouse helped him. They could have probably told a little bit more about the lion not realizing he'd be able to help him because he was so small. They didn't, but that's okay because it says that they changed his perspective. So that means that we know they understand that the lion realized he was wrong. When you change your perspective, the perspective they presented was up here, so we get that. So they did this explanation. So the next thing we need is how the lion was proven wrong, evidence that goes along with changing his perspective. Okay, so I'm going to grab my green. And I know it's evidence because it's got the quotation marks. And it says, dear friend, I was foolish to ridicule, which sounds like ridiculous. And that makes sense. Make you look ridiculous. Ridicule you for being small. So that really helps us there because we know now that he was wrong. I was foolish to ridicule you. You helped me by saving my life after all. Excellent evidence. Highlight that green. Bam, they did it. So if I were to think about this student's grade, this is an exemplar or an exemplary response because they did everything they needed to do and a little bit more, right? They gave us a little bit more explanation. So this student would get a 100. So they did this second part. They talked about how the line was proven wrong. They did both parts. Okay? So I'm going to pause here. You're going to make sure that you've done all of this. Go back and watch it if you need to. And there'll be a video on the next slide to help you.